Thank you for staying with us. Let's now take you through the front pages of Nigerian newspapers to tell you what the headlines will be this Wednesday and return for some analysis as we see what is there. The Nation newspaper is where we're beginning the journey this morning. And right here, very boldly, a happy birthday is being given to Senator Ali Ndume. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about some of the exploits of the senator. However, the president's reforms revolution, this is broadly displayed there as well. We'll tell you more about some of those reforms when we come back for the analysis. Also, the Punch newspaper, federal government unveils agri-reforms moves to create 21 million jobs. Men, that's a whole lot. Everybody in Nigeria should be a farmer by this. But we'll move to the economy. And this Nigeria is talking financial experts are backing the federal government's plan to privatize 91 state-owned assets. Something we need to really look into. And on national security, the Daily Times is talking DSS slams criminal charges on Sowore ex-Meta over anti-Tinubu posts. We'll tell you thus far this matter between the DSS and Sowore. We'll let you know where it is standing right about now. And as we move to opposition schemes, and right here, the Daily Independent is showing us something here. APC accuses Atiku Abubakar of instigating revolution in Nigeria. Is that really the case? We will talk when we come back for the analysis. And from banking, we go to the Leadership newspaper this morning. 12 banks clear recapitalization hurdle ahead of March 31 deadline. Remember, we talked about this some time ago. We'll bring you an update on that matter. And right now to aviation. And the Guardian newspaper is where we are going to wrap it. On insider threats, low confidence hobble, $14 billion aviation target. I'll give you the breakdown when we come back to analyze this matter. And on Lagos hustle, seems like a new way to make money in Lagos. And this is where the Nigerian News Direct, inside Lagos booming car spotting hustle. We'll let you know exactly what that really means. And something on health this time around. The Platform Times is showing us something we need to really be concerned. 1 kidney sold every hour globally. WHO cites Nigeria as a hotspot. This is a menace we need to talk about. And finally, the sporting life, where we always draw the curtains. And right about today, on the sporting life right here, my guy is on there. I will stop Osimhen. Who dares do that? Can you imagine that? Somebody wants to stop Osimhen.
That's impossible.
I'm not going to.
You can't.
No, there are times where you have to jump on a prominent person's back so that you will be heard. I think
that's what is going on.
That's what's going on.
It's close marking him.
It's close marking, yeah.
Let's jump on a prominent person's back right here on The Nation. Tinubu's reforms, according to ex-Speaker Dogara, President inherited a comatose economy. However, he's turning it around.
Yes, and I believe that Mr. President, knowing that the economy was comatose at that time, was one of the things that motivated him to run for president. And thank God that some of his policies are turning the tide and showing the difference between one administrator and another administrator. I find it a little bit funny when government officials say that past administrations did this to the economy, they did that to the economy. But didn't you know when you were going to run for office? In this case, it is obvious that Mr. President knew, his team knew, and they had plans on ground after it was very, very clear that, yes, he is a flag bearer for the APC. And they had plans. While the campaign was going on, they were planning on things to do. And how did I know that? From the very first day he was sworn in, he hit the ground running.
And that hitting the ground running, Ibrahim, was what took us to another direction that some of us, or probably all of us, were not really expecting. However, Okonjo-Iweala and some other big financial wigs or economic wigs have lauded the president to say he has stabilized the economy. We're also seeing inflation keep dropping, even though we're saying we need to see the direct reflection of that in our homes. Ibrahim?
Yes, two things actually happened to Nigeria. The COVID-19 pandemic, and I'm sorry to say the Buhari administration. Because
that's a comatose.
Yeah, because there were some decisions that were taken during the administration that didn't go down well with the economy of Nigeria. Remember the lackluster plan by the former CBN governor, Emefiele, who at the time redesigned Naira when people were going through hardship at the time. And then the issue of keeping the Naira, storing them one way and then giving them to, I don't know, whatever things that were done at the time. So it really battered our economy, so badly that, this administration, when the Tinubu administration came in, it had to call off, did something that no one would have dared to do, because at the time, people who were holding the economy by the jugular were already planning to meet the president, at the Aso Villa. Let's have a meeting, this subsidy of the thing, how do we do the sharing? The way it has been done with past government. It just pulled the plug, out of everyone's, all of those people's lives. And then they were like, come on, what happened? They tried to fight back. But we can see it is not easy that an inflation was caused to happen, and then we now see the trajectory coming down not at a time, like one after the other, not a yo-yo effect, like it goes up, it comes down, it goes up. And we are seeing the stability of the Naira. We're seeing everything being done, the NEL Fund and all of those policies, so much so that the Bretton Woods of this world, they have no choice now to say, no, this administration has stabilized the economy. I rest there.
Allow me to, your pot of soup has been stabilized, isn't it?
I don't know about that, guys. I got less meat than I did a few years ago. But I will say this in terms of the agricultural reform, creating about 21 million jobs. We do have a lot of land and water, and it says here that we're able to irrigate almost 3 million hectares. But we're using less than 10% of that, guys. Those figures are not promising. I will say this, my whole thing is that aside from farm credit and everything else, I want this to affect, mainly impact smallholder farmers, not just big investors. I want to see more of that. And also, it's good to see that, yesterday we spoke about the fact that inflation went down. But in terms of food insecurity, we're the only people that can save ourselves from that. I saw that the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, did say that if these agricultural reforms will help us be less at the mercy of seasonal dependency. And so it's good to see that, because it seems as though as the seasons come and go in terms of food insecurity, it gets worse as the seasons come and go. It's very, very volatile. So we are struggling. I will see how it goes.
Well, indeed. Of course, Olamide had taken us to the Punch newspaper where it talked about agricultural reforms, but it's about still on the Punch newspaper right here. This matter of flood predictions by the federal government. I'm seeing here Lagos, 13 other states being predicted. And we saw the rains yesterday. It even drizzled this morning as I was driving to the office. It looks like we are in for it now.
I just wanted to say, look, don't predict about Lagos. We've seen it already.
Right.
We've seen it, especially on the island. It was, yesterday was almost a nightmare. A lot of people couldn't go out with their cars because they were driving sedans and so on. I think Nigerians should take these warnings more seriously.
That's right.
We keep asking, when they say evacuate, prepare to evacuate, we're asking, where are they evacuating to? Is the federal government supposed to tell you how to save your own life? If the federal government advises that you evacuate, you know your terrain, you know the best place to run to. Normally, they always advise that evacuate to a higher ground.
Indeed. And Ibrahim, on this Nigeria, a picture story right there. The president is back to the country to continue about, say, his economic revolution. And financial experts are backing him to privatize 91 state-owned assets. The writer here says it'll boost revenues, attract investment, energize economic growth. DGBP shows Nigeria national interest will be protected.
You've actually said it all, because if you look at the issue of private businesses, government-owned businesses, the state-owned assets, they will always say government has no business in doing business. Do you understand? Because of the red tapeism, the bureaucratic bottlenecks and all of that. So it is okay that we're privatizing, these state-owned assets. But the challenge there is, are we going to be doing the what's known as the fire? I've forgotten the term. You know, one thing that we'll just sell it off because the fire, when fire destroys something, you know, the way you sell it off, like oh, we are going into bankruptcy or insolvency and all of that. So the government should be careful, you know, in the way they do this, and then transparency is very key. Political will is very key. Who are we selling this to? You know, talk about the privatization. We've seen the botched privatization of the power sector. We still sit here every now and then to talk about the, you know, power sector that has been changed. We're not getting, you know, much adequate power supply, even though we had this conversation yesterday that the power is improving and all of that. Yes, we can see it, but are we there yet? No. So this state-owned assets that they are plans to be privatized, I so much agree to it, and I think that it should be done, you know, the right way. So we'll get people to trust, and then investors will come in and buy into this.
Well, Olamide, let's move to this matter between Sowore and the DSS. That's on the Daily Times newspaper. You've been waiting for this, isn't it? The DSS, you know, some time ago released a statement saying they've written to Meta to take down Showore's account, you know, social media account, X, to be specific here. What exactly is going on between these two persons?
That's a wonderful question. The question I want to ask is, who decides when, you know, free speech on social media becomes a security concern? Yeah. I will pose that question. That is the question I want to pose. Who decides that?
A law. The DSS is there, that's why they're taking it to court.
Absolutely, but who decides that? But whatever happens, this case could set a lot of good legal precedent for how we handle free speech on social media in Nigeria. It could, how this case unfolds will show us if we really do have free speech in terms of the digital age. And another question I want to ask is, can international platforms be held liable for local content?
Yes.
Well, because it's owned by them. X and all of that is not owned by us.
Let me tell you what happened.
Absolutely. Yeah. But to what extent do they have a role
let me tell you what happened.
Please, because, you know, I wanted to jump on that.
Sowore, actually, when the president went to Brazil, he used the term, this criminal president, you know, went to Brazil to say that Nigeria is free of corruption. Now you now ask a question, who is saying that? Because the president said Nigeria is free, no more corruption in Nigeria. This person has said that, and you are saying no, that you are a criminal person, using his own word, saying that there is still corruption in Nigeria. You are the same person who had been alleged of corrupt practices, and you were sacked from the platform that you run as president in 2019 for corrupt practices. And I think the federal government also took you to court over money laundering of $74,400 US. Yeah. So it means that when the president is saying that no more corruption in Nigeria, you are telling the president, wait, I'm a corrupt person and I'm still in this country. That's the way it sounds.
It is one thing to campaign, it's another thing to hurl insults. It was extremely distasteful by him.
Exactly.
And so it would be good, whether it's the president or anybody else, for Meta to protect the rights of people who are
and you can't say that with Kenya. You go to jail immediately.
Which answers the question you asked. Yeah. While we have freedom of speech, we don't have freedom of insult.
And you don't even have freedom after speech, depending on what you say.
No, we don't have that. But the Daily Independent is talking opposition matters this morning, my dear people, on the table. APC is accusing Atiku Abubakar of instigating revolution. Etoma, the same matter again, but politically now.
Yes, we talked about it yesterday, and I think I reacted saying that as an opposition leader, we expect that he says a whole lot of things against the government, but in the process, he should also guard the things he says, because he's an opinion leader. You know, so when you say that the way things are going, we are looking at a situation where there might be a revolution, you are planting a seed. And it's not a very good seed you are planting. Most of our young people have not seen large-scale violence, so they don't know what it is. They don't know how it impacts the society. And
no, it's not far-fetched. Look at what happened in 2020 and SARS.
And that's just in Lagos. That was just 3 days. And look at the kind of destruction that happened. You know, so for somebody at that level, former vice president of Nigeria, an opinion leader at one time, the man has held position of authority and has a followership.
And influence.
People like that shouldn't be careless with what they say.
I absolutely agree with you, Etoma. But Ibrahim, the Leadership newspaper I remember the last time we talked about this, you brought some clarification to the matter. Can we continue on that? 12 banks clear recapitalization hurdle ahead of March 31st deadline.
Yeah, only that nothing is new except that we are looking at the deadline. And I think that March 31st is 2026.
Yes.
So we still have some banks that are running helter-skelter to, probably merge, meet up with the capitalization. For the Apex Bank, talk about the foreign banks and the banks that are on tier 1, I think it's about $200 billion. I mean, 200 billion naira for, I think it's it's 500 billion naira.
For the
and then the tier
banks.
2 is 200 billion naira. And then for the fintech, that's 50 billion naira. So as I said, in 2005, we had banks as much as 89 banks that came to marry themselves, and then we got the banks now reduced to 25. So this time around, we don't know how many banks we'll be having. But the strength there is for investors to have much more confidence in our economy and see, yes, we can invest in this economy. Banks are viral, and then the banks are also working. But I think I like what fintech is also doing. They are revolutionizing the banking sector.
Ibrahim, are you an economist or a journalist? Because somebody blew my mind.
I mean, he reads a lot. That's the first thing you have to understand. He reads a lot. And the funny thing about let me look at it from the funny way. 12 banks are ready to swallow other banks. That's the way it looks, But we won't start seeing those swallowing of other banks. When I say swallowing, I'm talking about merging.
Of course.
And sometimes outright buying, of the bank. But we won't start seeing all those things until about January.
That's right. That's right.
Well, the Guardian newspaper, I wish we were still talking about bank, but this time around aviation is here. And we see here insider threats, confidence, Hubble $14 billion aviation target. Let me give you a view from the breakdown right here. Aviation sector contributes $2.5 billion to the GDP with a target of $14.1 billion, supporting over 216,700 direct and indirect jobs in the country. Boy, at times like this, Olamide, I wish I was in the aviation sector. I'm going to take some of those billions of dollars.
I'm really focused on the fact that they're saying
Oh, boy. Go ahead, please.
I'm really focused on the fact that they're saying that it's insider threats that are threatening our aviation sector. They're saying a lot of equipment theft is going on by insiders. They're saying there's insider threats. And as long as we can seal these security loopholes, this misconduct is really undermining Nigerian airports and the aviation sector. As passengers, we need to be able to trust them. We need to trust that our aviation sector is going to, be bolstered up and not brought down by insider threats. Let's get it together.
Yes, let's get it together.
Well, I really wish we had some more time. There's some of the matters that I wanted us to bite at, but alas, no time really. But Toma, this matter on the News Direct, where a new, boom in Lagos hustle. Ibrahim was trying to force out yesterday.
This morning.
This morning, rather. But I see right here, the governor is saying Nigerian youths are most valuable asset for economic influence. That is Governor Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State. Is that why our youths are now doing luxury car hustling?
What I will give to the youth is that they are very creative. They have a way of creating an economy from where I wouldn't even think of.
Right.
Imagine creating a buzz out of luxury cars. But how do they engage with the owners of the luxury cars? At times it could cause some kind of a clash. We know what happened with Pastor Adefarasi and so on.
And Ibrahim, the Platform Times this morning, a little sad matter right here. 1 kidney sold every hour globally. And the WHO is citing Nigeria as a hot spot. Check out 651 kidneys illegally transplanted in Nigeria at $41 billion in 5 years. This is, my God.
It's I don't know which, what's it called? Adjective to use to qualify it, because when you have people who are doing everything to stay afloat of the vagaries of economic challenges that they're having, they feel, yes, we have to do everything. Imagine you selling your kidney. Yes, I understand. One can still resonate with ladies selling their ovaries, their eggs, to, some other hospitals and all of that. But selling your kidney, you only have 2. And then by the time you're selling one, you're not even sure of the other one that you have. And that is why we're also having trafficking of people to Libya and some other countries where they harvest people's organs and all of that. So we need to be mindful. We can't, because of economic challenges, start selling our eyes, our nose, our teeth, and it's I don't know.
You know, this at a point was very, very, very popular in India, and I feel really sad that Nigeria has gotten to that point. You know, why would you want to sell any organ? And apart from that, they are also harvested. You know, these guys kidnap you and harvest.
I wish we had more time to break this down, because we needed to tell Nigerians more about this. But let's move finally to the sporting live. Ibrahim Etoba and Olamide this morning. Can we bring out the guns? Who is trying to stop Osim?
It's the Frankfurt goalkeeper, Zetera, who is saying that he's a goalkeeper. So he's saying he will stop Osimhen, not stop Osimhen's career, maybe, not literally, but then when Osimhen tries to, fire into the net, he's going to save the ball, he's going to save the goalpost. So I guess that's what he's saying is it will stop the ball. He's only using what was this term?
Osimhen to qualify the pronoun.
Synecdoche to use ball to represent Osimhen. That when he fires, I'm going to stop you.
Well, it might be easier to stop Osimhen now because he has an injury apparently. So we wish you a safe recovery.
That's right. Unfortunately, that's how far we can go on the newspaper review segment this morning. Get ready for the grandest stage as Wanton Malayas and Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra Band bring a historic performance to Lagos. More exciting conversation when TVC Breakfast